So this is the brand new 2024 Subaru Impreza RS, which is the high-performance, top-of-the-line model for the brand new 6th generation Subaru Impreza, which has debuted with the 2024 model year. One of the interesting things about the brand new Impreza is the fact that it's actually hatchback only now. There is no more sedan model after with the previous generation, which they sold 73% of were hatchbacks. So Subaru is deciding to follow the market, and with that, if you wanted a sedan, they still make the sedan only WRX as an alternative model to something like this, the RS. Now, one of the other cool parts is the fact that they introduced this, the RS model, which is a high-performance version of the Impreza and even features a different engine shared with the Crosstrek that produces significantly more power than the other versions of the Impreza, which is a pretty cool feature, and it also includes some different exterior and interior cosmetics that I'll show as we go through the video. As far as pricing goes, the Impreza itself starts at $23,000, which makes it very affordable, and it goes up quite a bit because of some of the different engine changes and things like that by coming to the RS, which starts at $28,000. So with that, let's take a look at the 2024 Subaru Impreza RS. So moving on to the exterior of our 2024 Subaru Impreza RS. This car happens to be finished in crystal white pearl, which is a good looking color, and it has its cool RS differences with the exterior, which of course the easiest being the fact that all of the trim is now going to be black on this version. You look at the mirrors, the front grille, the side skirts, and even the rear spoiler are all black, and that is all part of the RS package. On top of that, you also get RS badging, which I feel helps to make the car feel a little bit more sporty. You have these cool red sporty RS badges that are on the side of the car and on the rear, but not on the front, which I think would have been fun to put one more badge up there. But then you also have these larger 18-inch dark gray alloy wheels that are going to be on the car as well. All of that, which combines to make a fairly sporty looking compact hatchback, not too different from what you'll find from the standard Impreza models, which will have different chrome trims and things like that, but looks like a pretty good car all around, I would say, no matter which trim model you decide to go with. One of the other cool things about the Impreza is the fact that it's fully independent suspension for that all-wheel drive system. So that's a pretty cool mix of technology, and they've actually improved stiffness by about 10% from the previous generation thanks to the inner frame being adjusted and even lightened, bringing total weight of the car to under 3,300 pounds, which is a pretty cool trait. Obviously, you have four-wheel disc brakes all around this car, which is great for safety as far as that goes, and you even have a really cool bit being that the rack system for this car is actually shared with the WRX, which means you're going to get a more sporty and sort of exciting driving experience from this car, which we'll talk more about later in the driving section of the video. So taking a look under the hood is undoubtedly the most important aspect of the Subaru Impreza RS. The base model Impreza gets a 2-liter Boxer 4, but when you opt for the Impreza RS, you get the bigger 2.5-liter 4-cylinder Boxer engine that's actually shared with the Subaru Crosstrek. This engine produces 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque, which is a 30 horsepower increase, 33 pound-feet of torque increase over the standard Impreza. And being that they all weigh about the same, they're all-wheel drive with Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system, that means that this car is going to be quite a bit faster in 0 to 60, even around 7.4 seconds with a quarter-mile time of around 15.5 seconds. So certainly not the fastest vehicle on the planet, not faster to comparably priced sports cars, but it does have a little bit of get up and go for this super sporty compact hatchback. So that's a pretty exciting thing. It's cool to see that there's actually a powertrain difference and you're getting more by opting for the RS. So when you go up and you see the price differences, there's definitely more physical stuff to be had here rather than just some interior changes and cosmetics, which is always a good thing in my book. Now, all of those engines are going to be paired with a Subaru Lineartronic CVT, or continuous variable transmission. That's an automatic transmission, which leaves a lot to be desired, but I'll talk more about that in the driving section of the car. And of course, Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive. You do have some sport modes, including a 8-speed sort of pseudo shifter mode that changes the ratios and sort of revs the car out. So all of that exists in this as well. Moving on to fuel economy, because this is a hatchback and odds are you're going to want a bit of both for that daily drivability. Now, by opting for the bigger engine, you do sacrifice 1 mile per gallon of fuel economy across the board compared to the smaller 2-liter options, but this having more power is going to be better for, I would say, just general daily driving, and even if you live in a hilly area, this will just help, especially if you're going to put a lot more people in your car. Now, this car has a rating of 26 miles per gallon city, 33 miles per gallon highway, and a combined rating of 29 miles per gallon. It has a 16.6 gallon fuel tank, which means if you do the math there, if you take that average, it comes to about 480 miles of range per tank. But if you're going to be taking it on a road trip and you're getting 33 miles per gallon, well, now you can take the car up to about 540 miles of range, which is really impressive, and you can get a lot of bang for your buck when it comes with this car. So it's a great daily driver. I like that you have the sporting options as well as the other engine options depending on your use case. So moving on to the interior of the 2024 Subaru Impreza RS. So this is obviously going to be very similar to what you'll find in the other Impreza models. It's got this cool angle styling to it. We'll talk about some of the differences for the RS, but the most important change, I would say, for the 6th generation model is now they've included this bigger infotainment system in the middle. So previously we had an 8-inch, now we have this big 11.6-inch sort of vertical display that feels kind of like a phone, because you have these buttons. You even have a home button, and you can manage through your Apple CarPlay, which come equipped on this, along with the Subaru Starlink system, so you can manage all of your phone bits on it. One of the unfortunate things that I don't quite like, I wish I would have liked to see more physical buttons as a redundancy, in addition to having the touchscreen as well. But the touchscreen is easy-ish to use. It's not that laggy, and it's right in front of you. And obviously the fact that it's bigger now makes it a little bit easier. You still have physical buttons for your hazards, some volume knobs, tunes, and even some of your AC temperature controls, but the actual fan speed and some of the other particulars you'll have to go ahead and touch the touchscreen and interact with if you want to change that, especially vehicle settings, which aren't a big deal, just makes it so you have to come to a stop whenever you want to change those settings, because it can be more dangerous trying to mess with a touchscreen while you're driving. But anyways, moving on to the bits that make this special as the RS model. So we do have lots of red, which of course matches the exterior RS badging. We have these nice big comfy seats which have healthy side bolstering that are also finished in red stitching on the steering wheel and shifter, with all these nice touch points that feels good inside of the car as well. We also get some cool exclusives, such as the gauge itself says RS and they're outlined in red. We also get these graphite metallic finishes throughout the car as well that have a cool sort of subtle sporty styling to them, but you also get these aluminum pedal sets and you get RS floor mats. So I like the effort Subaru went through to really make the RS feel like a more special model, because it is. They did a lot to make this car feel like a totally different Impreza compared to some of these standard and sport trim offerings. Now, as a whole, you do have your paddle shifters for your 8-speed sport modes I mentioned earlier. This car does have the Subaru SI, which is their sort of sport and standard driving modes. The I mode, if you'll have it, is the normal driving mode. The car will always start up in the I mode, and that's going to be for your daily driving. It's going to keep the car steady, and you're going to get better gas mileage, as opposed to sport, which will take the car more aggressive, hold out the engine revs, things like that, to make it feel more like a sports car. Now, you have a lot of buttons available in your steering wheel, including all of your driver assists, which, depending on how you feel about, you can either disable them or you can keep them on. There's a lot of cool features that are fairly easy to access from this car as well. Everything feels laid out in front of you. It's fairly simplistic and just easy to use. This car, you can even shift it over into the manual driving mode. You have a Qi wireless charger. You do have both types of USB, both the US Type A and the US Type C, as well as an aux port, which you don't need too much these days. You have some heated seats in this car, and then you have some cup holders and even more access, center console storage, all that types of stuff that you would expect in a modern car. As far as the general comfort, I quite enjoy sitting in this car. The steering wheel feels great, and even the back seat is fairly comfortable, with room to seat me. With the seat set up for me, I'm at about 6 foot. I can comfortably sit in the back seat as well. So a surprising amount of space that, of course, you can flip and fold down. It's a 60-40 split, and depending on what you need for storage, because it's a hatchback, so you get that blend of both storage, and you get the fact that you can also fit people back there. So it's a cool, practical blend that also happens to be packaged in this higher trim sports car model. Okay, so what's it like to drive the Subaru Impreza RS? Well, it's going to be pretty similar for the most part, other than the RS gets the obvious power bump, which just means this car is going to accelerate a little bit quicker and have an easier time driving around hills. Now, as far as the general feel of the car, the steering is actually going to be really similar to the WRX. Obviously, they share that steering rack, and so you have what feels like a fairly sporty driving experience, although it's really held back by the fact that this has that CVT transmission. Even in the sport driving mode of the SI driving modes, it still doesn't feel overly fast. You put it in the manual shifting mode, and it's still a little bit awkward because it's a CVT trying to pretend it's a regular transmission, which is kind of a weird thing. But all in all, it's actually not that bad, especially for the price. If you need that hatchback experience, it offers an interesting alternative, and we can't blame them for not selling a manual manual, which would have been preferred in my instance, but if the main buyer base is going to be buying an automatic, it makes sense because there's going to be a little bit of that crossover. But all in all, it's not a bad driving car. It does offer some sporty, dynamic handling characteristics, but nothing too crazy to write home about. So in conclusion, Subaru introduced the 6th generation Subaru Impreza while trying not to rock the boat. They're sticking to what they feel the customer base most enjoys by offering a hatchback-only model and updating the interior with things that we expect from modern cars, i.e. going with bigger infotainment systems that can be easier to use and updating the general comfort, rigidity, things like that of the vehicle as well, just to make it a better all-around experience. I really like that they added this RS version of the vehicle as it adds a cool new sporty option as an alternative, and even seeing them replace the engine with the one from the Crosstrek is a really cool add-on, making this a true sporty difference from the standard Impreza models. And I think that's really cool, so I would like to give Subaru a high five for that. I do wish we had a manual transmission option. The CVT can leave a lot to be desired from a driving point of view, but it is a cheap alternative, and maybe they can keep costs down by sticking to the CVT transmission. So that's what it takes. But let me know what you think down below. Maybe you'd be interested in checking out the Impreza RS, or if you already own one or are planning on purchasing one, let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, could hit that like button for me. I'd really appreciate it, and consider getting subscribed for more content like this in the future. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.